This piece is called Death Scrolling, created in 2020. So a year or two prior to this painting, I started looking into the philosophy of Memento Mori, and I was reading things like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and Michel de Montaigne, and realizing how powerful the philosophy of Memento Mori was. And basically, it's centered around realizing our mortality at a visceral level so that we can live more fully. And it's definitely not a morbid theme at all, even though it appears that way. So I created this piece. This was in like around lockdown time. And as everyone was feeling frustrated, spending even more time online, which was a lifeline in some ways, but I also found myself frustrated with how much time was wasted online. And this represents basically going off on a tangent of the phrase doom scrolling. So it's basically scrolling yourself to death, wasting so much time scrolling. And this was an expression of my frustration around that. Lost souls, along a similar theme. I was feeling lost in myself. I was grateful to have found art again, so I picked up art in 2019. This started off with a few sketches, and then it became a canvas where all these lost souls were trapped and didn't know what to do with their lives, as so many people do, even though we're abundant with opportunities and all have connections to the internet. We seemingly feel more lost than ever. Blue Man, this was one of my first, I think it was my first larger scale painting, and this is facing body insecurity head on. So I've had a lot of insecurity throughout my life, being overweight, eating food for comfort, and I came across this piece by Glenn Pudvine where it depicts, he's quite a surrealist in my opinion, and he does these pictures of a large penis, his large penis, choking himself around his neck. And I got really triggered by that. So I decided to face that head on, paint this piece based on a photograph. So it's a nude depiction of myself. You can see the sadness in my eyes, and hence the title Blue Man. But facing this body insecurity head on helped me accept myself the way I was. And it's, having displayed this many times, it's taken that power away from society's views, and my perception of how I feel about myself. It's still not perfect, but facing this really helped me realize that we all have insecurities regardless of how we look. Bloodlines, this was based on a reference photo, which was my first dialysis session in December, I think it was December 16th, 2022, again around COVID times. I had a mask on, I had a hoodie and a woolly hat because it was so cold. I was feeling very sad, but also relieved at the same time. So I've been so sick prior to this that I just needed this treatment so bad. And I started painting this a couple of months after this first treatment and faced the feelings head on. And this is one of the most poignant pieces for me because it's kind of the crux point between illness and treatment. And you can see the eyes speak volumes as well. So in this, there's tubes on there. So that's when I was connected to the dialysis machine, hence the first treatment. And then I started exploring this theme. I was spending a lot of time in dialysis, 12 hours a week. And then I took a photo of myself in the bed. My feet were slightly too long, so I propped them up at the end of the bed and I painted it. When I was well enough in February 2022, painted my own interpretation of it. And I feel it's quite cheery in a way. The pastel colours, the naive style of it, it doesn't seem gloomy to me. It's uplifting. It's a snapshot in time of my journey. So this one is based on the old kidney donor card design. So I felt inspired to take this and paint my own version of it and add Memento Mori at the bottom. And it's a really striking contrast of orange and a dark blue on there. And I think it's a reminder to everyone to consider donation. And laws have changed in the UK that we are enrolled to donate automatically. So we opt in rather than opt out nowadays, which has helped a lot, but you can still have the final say after that. But this is just what I wanted to express. And then there's a second one, which is a newer design. So I painted that in my own style as well. And it's just, they complement each other really well, both the same size. And this has got the heart design, and I've added Memento Mori on there, and it's got the NHS logo. Next one, this is the results. So it's based on, just checking that it's recording. This is based on when I first found out about having kidney failure in 2002, I think it was. So it's got 2 x-rays pass with big, juicy, healthy kidneys, and then fail with shriveled up kidneys. So I didn't have a scan as such, but I had a blood test which showed that my kidneys were working 30%. And it was a big shock. So I had no symptoms. And I was in my early 20s at the time and could live a relatively normal life for the next 7 years before I went on dialysis. So this is just a clear depiction of one day kidneys are fine, the next day they failed, and just wanted to create awareness as well that a lot of people don't know that they've got kidney failure. So it's always worth getting checked out. Overloaded. So this one taken from a reference photo, and it is, so I had a really bloated face. This was before I started dialysis. I had fluid in my face, in my legs, in my chest. I had it on my lungs, in my arms, overloaded with fluid. And I didn't know that. I knew this after dialysis, that I had 30 kilograms of fluid in my body, which equates to 30 litres, hence overloaded. And I depicted this visually with some cola bottles, which are at the exhibition. So there were 15 cola bottles originally, which really is a strong visual image of how much fluid I had in my body. Kidney Man. So this is, again, in the same series, depicted as a superhero and putting a humorous twist on what I was going through, showing myself as a superhero taken from a Superman idea. And this decided to call it SLART comic. So it's like a fake comic book cover. Then underneath, this is how I got the idea. So I've got these canvases which have superhero covers on the back. And so I painted over that and left some of it showing through. So it's got quite a cool effect on it. And then Donor Man made this issue 2 of SLART comic. So this is basically depicting my brother, who's my superhero, who decided to donate. This was before I had the transplant. I made this, but it was just showing his heroicness for going ahead and putting himself forward, even though I didn't ask him. Very Low Iron Man. So this is one of the favorites that people comment on, because I like a word pun, a bit of word play. So when I was sick in 2021, when the transplanted kidney was failing, I got really bad pneumonia. Anemia. Got really bad anemia. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't walk very far. I just felt really lethargic all the time until I found out that the kidney had failed. So I depicted this guy as Very Low Iron Man, and he's like, looks like he's half asleep or asleep in the picture. And you can see a hand in the background. So this was painted on top of a Iron Man, like a wooden kind of poster. So let the hand show through slightly. And then this is the next one. So in the series, again, I like a word pun, timely manageable hemodialysis. So hemodialysis is the treatment I had. And then it's depicting Shredder from Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. So TMHD. And it's showing that bad people have health issues too. You kind of depicted like bad guys in films always get away with it and nothing ever bad happens a lot of the time. But this is, I decided to, rather than put a superhero having dialysis, I wanted to flip it and put one of the villains in there. And this one, this one was done post-transplant. So grateful to my brother for donating a kidney, and we've depicted Kidney Man and Donor Man together in this piece. No limits. We both recovered from the transplant and we can go and save the world now. And Donor Man has saved Kidney Man through his heroic donation of his left kidney. This too shall pass. So this one, I got the idea that as you can see in the background, there's I can't always remember the date. I think it's 1877, a Times newspaper from London that I bought on eBay and I pasted it on the background. And the idea that I got behind this one was someone was having a normal day buying this newspaper as we would today. Maybe not so much today because we don't read as much, but they're still around. And everyone who read that newspaper is no longer with us. The whole generation who read that newspaper have passed on. And it's got a depiction of Grim Reaper standing behind the back of someone who could be depicted from that era and have purposely left the newspaper showing through. So you can, if you look closely enough, you can read snippets about what is going on. And it's just a reminder to us that to embrace life, because no one lives forever. Time the Great Equalizer. An hourglass is a figure of a Memento Mori painting. So there's a lot of paintings, I don't know which period, probably 1800s, of an hourglass, a rose, and a skull. So I was constantly reading about these ideas, and then I really wanted to depict this simplification of everyone's life. So at the top of the hourglass, we've got the baby being born, then coming through the sands of time, and then there's a skeleton at the bottom dropping into the grave. Someone said it looks a bit like an egg when you crack an egg and you drop it into a bowl. It kind of does look like that because it's got that kind of eggy color. But yeah, it's just a visual representation of how everyone lives and dies. Memento vivere. So this was created before I even knew this exhibition existed. So this started off a bit of freestyling and no prior plan to it. So I created this face, and there was a happy, beautiful accident where I painted the first eye on the left-hand side, and then I had to get a new spray can. I shook it up, and then I sprayed the second eye, and it squirted out like a load of tears. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful. It's painted in complementary colours. I had a period where I was really a bit obsessed with oranges and blues, so I was experimenting. And this person is clearly sad, but they're remembering that it's going to be okay. They've got hope. They're remembering to live, and they've got the resilience to get through it. And just to add, I went through, I really like highlighting figures. So I painted this in different layers, and it had layers underneath this whole painting, and then drew the black layer and then the white layer on the outside. And I think it gives it quite a multi-dimensional effect. Peace at last. This is a picture of my mother who passed away in 2018. And as the title suggests, it looks like it's a photo of my mother who has just passed away. But the reference photo was taken from a photo of her a couple of years prior to that when she was asleep in hospital, and she looked so peaceful. So it's got a double meaning. Peace at last. She's resting. She's getting some peace from having trouble to breathe. And then peace at last, that she's passed away and at peace. So she did pass away peacefully, thankfully. We went to see her the night before she passed, and I managed to get my brother to come with me, who hadn't seen her for a while. I'm so glad he come. And she passed away peacefully. I think it was around 6 a.m. in the morning after, and she had 4 nurses around her holding her hands. And sometimes I wish I was there, but I don't know. I think she was glad she got to see us before she passed, and maybe she was ready to go. Internal warfare. So this figure here is shell shocked from experiencing the first Gulf War, or any kind of war trauma. He's turned to alcohol. He's in a dark room. He's in a dark place, and he's getting flashbacks of friends dying before his eyes, and society judges him because he's drinking all the time, but no one can relate to what he's been through. And this was painted this just after my brother passed away, and he died in 2023 from liver failure. So this is based on that, and so many people go through war trauma don't get the right support. Memento ignosere. I don't know how to pronounce that, actually. I have to look it up again. So this one is remember to forgive, checking. Remember to forgive. So this was a real raw expression based on my biological father. So I found him in 2003, and my grandparents adopted me, basically. And we had a disagreement on the WhatsApp group, and I was really angry, and I wanted to reply and say something, and I'm glad I didn't. So I didn't want to say something that I would regret in the future. So this piece is a form of forgiveness towards him not being there for me. It shows when we hold on to grudges, we have these ghosts on our back, these figures weighing us down, and forgiving. When we're holding these grudges, the only person we're harming is ourselves. And painting this was really cathartic because I based the figure on him, so I made it look grotesque and exaggerated. So I was getting it out viscerally through the painting, and then that enabled me to forgive. Not saying that he was totally in the wrong, but it enabled me to forgive and realize that he was only doing his best when I was young, and I don't know the full story. So forgiveness was the best option. Not afraid. This piece is called Not Today. So it was based on a dream I had. I had this real visceral dream that I was with a mafia boss and his wife was revealing something that she shouldn't. And the guy had had a gun in my mouth. And in this dream, it was really visceral that I could feel the gun in my mouth. I could also experience my thoughts, and I felt really peaceful. I was on the verge of death right there and then. He could have pulled the trigger, but I was not afraid at all. I really felt that so powerfully, and I knew I wasn't going to die then. That's why it's called Not Today, because I wasn't ready to die. he wasn't going to kill me. And I apologized to the person, and then then I woke up. I wasn't killed. Together we'll go too far. So this one is based on someone who died 16th of August 2024 at the desk of Wells Fargo, and they were found a couple of days later. They were working far too many hours and died at their desk. This is a tribute to them, and also a commentary on extreme kind of corporate culture, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Yeah, you're all going to die. Cheers to the end. This is based on the popular meme Leo DiCaprio raising a glass. The scenes from Django Unchained. So it's this meme is everywhere. You see the picture, and then you've got a little joke underneath with that expression. It's everywhere. So I flipped it on its head and put this statement, "You're all going to die," LOL, with a laughing emoji to put a funny but also kind of dark spin on it. So it's a true statement, isn't it? But it's when it's juxtaposed with the funny meme, it kind of you don't get the same feeling as you would with any other kind of joke with that meme. And then they would not want you to be sad, like, share, mourn. So it was after I painted that one, I had the idea this may become a series after this, I'm not sure. But I was thinking of the things that people say when people die. There's always like an excuse. And one of those things was they would not want you to be sad. But that kind of dismisses someone's grief. Of course, they wouldn't want you to be sad, but sometimes you need to be sad. And this is the hole that you can fall into when you have grief. And I understand that it takes different amounts of time for people to overcome grief. But this is an accumulation of me losing my brother, mum, and father, and the kind of things people said to me. But I felt like I grieved. I gave myself permission to grieve. See you at 10:10. But sadly had to say goodbye to my dog, Bruno, this year on 26th of April. So I like to see the funny side in things. So what I did with this piece, I printed this shot, the screenshot on canvas, and then I painted around it. So it says, "Reminder of your appointment tomorrow." And then it's got the appointment for the euthanasia. And then it says, "We look forward to seeing you." So I highlighted that. I thought that was funny and also a bit kind of inappropriate that they've got this stock footer that we're going to put your dog to sleep tomorrow, but we look forward to seeing you. But in reality, they were the most amazing people, and they were so kind when it happened, and it all happened so peacefully. Reduced to clear. So as I said before, when my mum passed away, she passed away on 11/11/2018, and this is just like a humorous kind of taking a small element of the situation, facing my mother's death. So everyone likes a reduced sandwich. So when I was visiting my mum at hospital, there was lots of these reduced sandwiches. So I bought a load of them and I got excited about it. And it's just those little moments that you forget that something awful is going on, and it's something that people can relate to. So it was a Marks and Spencer's there. And it's got a tribute to my mum, British mum, a well-loved classic, white bread. So it's basically taking a sandwich packet and putting the discount on there and putting a little tribute to my mum as well. Please wake up. So this is a culmination of my brother's death and my mum's death. So it's based on, I've never seen a dead body before, and I saw my brother's when he was at the funeral place. They invited me to come along and see him there, and this was based on that. The please wake up part. When my mum passed away, I remember the coffin going through the curtains for the cremation, and there was a photo of my mum there on it. And when we left the ceremony, I found it hard to say goodbye. It was only a photo, but I just couldn't go. My wife had to pull me away because at that moment I just couldn't go. I couldn't walk away. I just wanted her to wake up, and I wanted my brother to wake up. It looked like he was asleep. He looked peaceful, but I just wanted to speak to him, and he was dead. This one, I saw this quote on Instagram. So it was Jose Mujica. He was the president of, let me just check while I'm here because I forgot it. I was the former president of Uruguay. So he passed away in May this year. And he gave this quote to the BBC. That's what I've made BBC to RIP. BBC logo. When he gave this quote, "One knows that death is inevitable, and perhaps it's like the salt of life." I thought it was a really wise saying, and he said that sometime this year, and then he passed away soon after. Yeah, this one taken from a passport photograph, not from actual passport, but from those machines. Still recording, yeah, from those. What's that? Yeah, so I had this passport photo, and then I made it into this piece. the year we didn't know, 1985, I was 3 years old and he was 13, 14, I think. And yeah, just carefree times. Well, for me anyway, I was still very young, but the photo reminds me of carefree times, and we weren't aware of death then. You were just living your life, and being old felt like a long time away. But as you get older, you become more aware of your mortality. And obviously my brother died at 52, so yeah, just a snapshot in time. Bed Redux. So I did this, I think I made this in 2019 or 2020 originally, and it was on a smaller piece of card. So I remade it on larger canvas, and the original was given away to someone. I displayed it at a show, and then because I didn't pick up my painting in time, the guy gave it away, which was a bit annoying. But the sentiment behind it was TV's been around for a long time, but especially nowadays, because there's so much on demand. Say you watch 5 series on Netflix and you enjoy them, they're all done, watch another 5 more, but then it's the accumulation of a series of that, so it multiplies. So if you've watched 15 series and they've all got five more series on top of it, it's a perpetual feeling that you need to catch up and watch all of it. And I was really annoyed about that because I just wanted to paint more and more, but I was really frustrated about the feeling of having to perpetually watch TV, and even more so with algorithms that they're showing you TV that they think you want to watch. So it's a very clever way of keeping you trapped. Even in the old days, you just had 5 channels, so it was a bit more social because you could talk about what you watched with friends at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. But now it has its ups and downs. So this poem, I don't know who the poem's by, but I took it from a plate that was in my parents' house, and it kind of described their more so my mum's kind of attitude. It's not a bad attitude. So it's basically saying Memento mori in kind of a Cockney tone. It's saying you basically work your ass off all your life and then you die. So you might as well lighten up a bit and enjoy yourself. So I put a £1 Scottish note on there, and that's got some significance because I remember getting Scottish notes. If you live in the UK and you got Scottish notes, it was kind of special. You could still spend it in England, but you kind of felt cool that you got one. And then I attached a 1982 50p coin as well. So it's showing £1.50 was like the kind of average wage back then per hour. In 1982, and then created a series of 3 of these. I may do more, but the idea behind it was I was reading up on copyrights and everything, and with paintings over, if the creator of the painting has died over 80 years ago, you can reuse it. So Duchamp did something with Mona Lisa. I can't remember what he did with the Mona Lisa, but he created his own version of it, and that using the original picture. So I decided to do that. Get this printed on a canvas, and I painted around it. So the idea behind it is an order of service card. So at a funeral, you get a booklet that shows the day they're born and died, and then inside it's got hymns and stuff like that, usually a kind of Christian church type scenario. So this is highlighting her name, Lisa del Giocondo. So it's showing the actual woman rather than just the painting, the Mona Lisa. And it's saying so much more than a Da Vinci painting. And then it's got this, I can't remember what it says, but it's some kind of rest in peace type message. And this says, she lays with the Lord or something. It's a kind of Latin saying that would have been said around that time. And then moving on with that theme, it's a similar idea that this was the Madame X painting. So much more than Madame X. It's got her name on it and the day she was born and died. And I actually made a mistake on there, but I'm going to keep it like it is. It looks like she died 4 months later, but I'll leave that as a little idea to see if anyone spots it. I think I must have been distracted, and I put the same year at the end at the beginning. And finally, with this one, girl with a pearl earring. No one can know for sure who this is, but I called her Griet Vermeer and put a fictional birth date and death date on there. So this was a Vermeer painting, so I made this into an order of service, and then I put a Dutch saying at the bottom. So it goes along the same theme. They're all highlighting the women in the pictures.